A paranormal romance audiobook. Stop, do not turn around. Breathe, the man in the black coat said, his voice calm in a way that made her panic worse. I do not even know you, Harper hissed, stumbling as the corridor spat her out onto the platform. Her fingers crushed the camera against her ribs like it could become a shield. You know enough, he replied. If you look back, you die. A guard's shout cracked through the tiles. Hey, you, stop. Harper's lungs burned. The underground smelled of metal and dust and hot electricity, but under it her body felt something wrong, a hollow burn in her throat like it was searching for a scent and finding nothing. She tasted fear as if it had weight. The stranger caught her elbow before she pitched toward the tracks. His hand was warm, too sure. His gaze did not flicker to the guard. It stayed on her face, then slid with a focus that turned her skin tight to the side of her neck. Breathe, he repeated, softer. Do not fight me. Fight you? Harper's laugh came out cracked. I am not the one chasing girls through service tunnels. The guard's boots slapped closer. The stranger turned, finally, and his voice dropped into something that sounded like authority, almost boredom. She is with me. The guard slowed, wary. Who are you? The stranger did not answer. Harper caught the briefest glimpse of his wrist when his sleeve shifted, a crest pressed into his skin like a brand or a ringless signet, a sharp black design she had seen once on a society page. Blackwood, the elite family people whispered about with a half-joke and a half-prayer. A train screamed into the station. Wind tore at Harper's hair. The stranger pushed her, not gently but decisively, into the carriage. The doors slammed shut with a finality that made her knees go weak. Harper turned to face him. Who are you? For a beat he watched the platform slide away. Then he said, someone who does not like girls being hunted over photographs. My photographs, Harper said, swallowing, and her mind flashed the footage she had caught by accident. Faces in a corridor where the public was never allowed. A door opening. A hand on a wrist. A girl's mouth shaped around a sound that never became a scream. His eyes narrowed. You filmed again. I film everything, Harper snapped, because it was the only way she could keep from crying. Her body still held the echo of sprinting, of nearly falling, of his hand grabbing her like she belonged to his world. His gaze dipped again to her neck, and the intensity in it made heat prickle over her skin. He did not touch her. That was somehow worse. You do not have a scent, he said quietly. Harper's spine stiffened. Excuse me. He tilted his head as if listening to something only he could hear. Nothing. No pull, no signal. His mouth tightened. You are either very protected or very strange. Harper forced herself to breathe through her nose. The burning emptiness flared again. She hated the way her body reacted to him like an instrument he could tune with a look. You too, huh? She said before she could stop herself. He looked back, sharp. What did you mean? Nothing, Harper lied, because the truth was humiliating. The truth was the childhood doctor saying the beast never woke. The truth was classmates whispering defective. The truth was her mother's tight smile at every parent's meeting, like her family could survive anything as long as they did not look directly at it. The train light strobed across his face, carving him into angles. He exhaled like patience was a learned habit. My name is Nathan, he said. Remember that in case you ever have to run again. Then the doors opened at the next station, and he stepped out as if the world owed him clear exits. The crowd swallowed him. Harper shoved forward, trying to see, but he was gone. She sat down hard, hands shaking, and checked the camera. The file list made her throat close. Something was missing. Several clips wiped clean as if they had never existed. She stared at the empty space on the memory card and felt, for the first time, that she was not just scared. She was being managed. The next morning, her dorm room smelled like instant coffee and anxiety. Chloe paced by the window, rattling a packet of suppressants so hard Harper thought it would split. "Stop that," Harper said. "You are making my teeth hurt." "If I lose it, they will kick me out," Chloe muttered, and her eyes were too wide, too bright, the way they got when she was trying not to spiral. "You know how the rules are. No incidents. No heat. No problems. Just be normal, Chloe, just be normal, like it is a switch." Harper watched her friend's hands shake. "I will cover for you," she said. "If you get sick, if you need to skip class, I will lie. Just do not do anything stupid." Chloe's laugh was small and wet. "I am dating Zane." Harper blinked. "Since when?" "Since he started being sweet and I started being lonely," Chloe said, then looked away. "He is nice. He is really nice. But he keeps talking about forever like it is a party invite, and I am scared." Harper's mind flashed, against her will, to Nathan's voice. "Do not look back." The way he had stared at her neck as if searching for a mark that was not there. "Then do not rush," Harper said, and tried to sound older than 20. "You get to decide what you are ready for." Chloe swallowed. "That is the problem. Everyone else thinks they get to decide for me. University swallowed them whole." Harper arrived late to philosophy, sliding into a seat as Professor Stanton paused mid-sentence with theatrical irritation. "Ah," he said, smiling like a blade, "our late arrival. Sit down. Let us see if you know how to think." Laughter rippled. Harper set her notebook down carefully because her hands wanted to shake. Stanton loved breaking freshmen. He did it with questions instead of fists. He called on her because of course he did. "Define freedom," Stanton said, leaning on the desk as if he could smell weakness. Harper met his eyes. "Freedom is the ability to choose without coercion," she said, and felt the room tilt toward her. But most people confuse freedom with permission. Stanton's eyebrows lifted, impressed despite himself. "And what is coercion?" "The invisible hand around your throat," Harper answered before she could second guess, and her own words struck her with the memory of last night. "Someone wiping files, someone deciding." Stanton smiled. "Since you are so smart, prove it in writing." He slid a paper toward her. "Extra assignment. Due in a week. Do not disappoint me." Outside, the hallway was a river of bodies and perfume and hierarchy. Harper moved with her head down until she saw them. The seniors who acted like the campus was their inheritance. Christian Rayner at the center, his friends orbiting like moons that feared leaving his gravity. Rayner's gaze locked on Harper as she passed. It was not casual. It was as if he recognized something about her that she did not recognize herself. "The weak always think no one sees them," he said to no one in particular, his voice carrying just enough to make it deliberate. Harper's cheeks heated. She kept walking, refusing to give him the satisfaction of a flinch. The library was quieter, safer. She made herself breathe between shelves of old paper and dust, and then she froze. Nathan stood by the rare books, fingertips sliding along spines like he could read through leather. He did not look surprised to see her. He looked annoyed. "You are alone again," he said. "Is this an interrogation?" Harper asked, and hated that her pulse jumped. "It is a warning," Nathan replied. "Omegas are disappearing in the city." Harper's stomach clenched. "I am not an omega." Nathan's eyes narrowed and he stepped closer, just inside the boundary of polite distance. "Then why do you react to me like that?" Harper backed up until a shelf pressed into her spine. "I do not react to you. His voice dropped rougher. You do. Heat crawled up Harper's throat, humiliating. Her body wanted to lean in and run at the same time. Do not go back at night to where you were filming, Nathan said. I was not there, Harper lied automatically. His stare made the lie feel childish. You were, he said, and someone noticed. Before she could answer, he moved away, leaving her standing between books like she had been pinned and released. She watched him go, the back of his black coat disappearing around a shelf, and found herself breathing in too deep as if there was something she could smell that was not there. That evening, Chloe begged for a distraction, and Harper said yes because guilt was a leash and friendship was heavier than fear. They went to the student nightclub, the kind with sticky floors and bass that rearranged your heartbeat. Harper kept pepper spray in her pocket, fingers brushing it like a rosary. Chloe laughed too loudly, dancing like she was trying to shake something off her shoulders. Harper watched her, pretending to relax until she saw Rainer near the bar talking to a man in an expensive suit, older, polished, the kind of face you saw on boards and charity banners. The man's gaze did not flirt. It assessed the dance floor like it was a display case. Rainer glanced up, caught Harper's eye, and nodded once. Do not get lost, he called. Harper's skin prickled. Threat or advice, she could not tell. In the smoking area, air cold against overheated skin, Nathan appeared like he belonged to the shadows. He took Harper's lighter without asking. His fingers brushed hers, a touch that was technically nothing and felt like a spark under her skin. You taking suppressants, he asked, voice low. I do not need them, Harper snapped. Then why are you shaking? Nathan asked, softer. Harper's throat tightened. She hated that he saw everything, because you are here. His eyes held hers. Give me a reason. Because Harper whispered, and the confession felt like stepping off a roof. I do not have a beast, at all. For a fraction of a second, his composure cracked, something raw flashing behind his eyes. Then he looked away as if he had to swallow it down. Bad, he said. That means they will treat you like a thing, especially people like the one in the suit. Who is he? Harper asked, and the club's light seemed suddenly too bright, too fake. Someone who knows how to buy silence, Nathan said. Harper's chest tightened. Chloe. Harper turned, searching the crowd, and her stomach dropped. Chloe was no longer on the dance floor. Chloe, Harper called, pushing through bodies. Her friend's name vanished into the music. She spotted Chloe near a staff door, her wrist held by someone in black, a smile on their face that did not reach their eyes. Chloe looked back once, panic flashing, and then the door swallowed her. Harper surged forward, but a security guard blocked her, palm out. No entry, he barked. Move, Harper snapped, trying to push past. The guard grabbed her arm. Then Nathan's voice cut through, calm and lethal. She is with me. The guard hesitated like the words carried weight. Nathan did not wait. He moved past, and Harper followed, the service corridor narrowing, the air turning colder, smelling of disinfectant and old damp concrete. Harper heard muffled sobbing. The door at the end was locked. Nathan pressed his palm to the lock. There was a soft click, too easy, like metal obeyed him. Inside, Chloe sat on the floor, pale, mascara smeared, shirt tugged crooked. Zane stood beside her, eyes wide, hands half raised as if he had been caught in a crime he did not understand. I did not know Zane started. They said it was a casting, Chloe choked out, and her voice broke. It was not. Nathan's gaze pinned Zane so hard he seemed to shrink. Who is they? Zane swallowed. People from admin, and one important adult. I thought it was a networking thing. I thought Chloe wanted it. Harper's mind flashed to the man in the suit. The way he had looked at the dance floor like a shelf of products. The way her files had been wiped. Chloe clutched Harper's hand. "Harper, I said no, and they laughed." Harper squeezed back, fury rising hot and clean. "It is over," she said. "You are coming with us." Nathan's jaw flexed. "Not just with us," he said, eyes hard. "With protection." On the walk back, Chloe leaned on Harper, trembling, and Harper felt a strange reversal. Her scentless emptiness had always made her feel less than human, but tonight it made her feel like a weapon no one could track. That night Harper woke with a nosebleed, dark drops on the pillow that looked too dramatic to be real. The room spun when she sat up. Jess, their class rep, knocked once and came in with tea and a stack of notes like she owned the place. Jess was blunt, all sharp edges and loyalty you had to earn. "You look like death," Jess said, setting the mug down. "Drink." Harper wiped her nose, embarrassed. "Thanks." Jess's eyes flicked over her face. "Is it true you are scentless?" Harper's shoulders stiffened. "Are you always this kind?" Jess snorted. "I like you," she said like it was an insult. "I do not want to see you broken. And I do not trust the campus rumor mill, but I trust my eyes. Something is circling you." Harper stared into the tea. "Something is circling everyone," she murmured. The next day, in an elective she barely cared about, it happened. Harper had just taken her seat when a sensation lit under her skin, warm and blooming, as if her body remembered a language it had never spoken. A scent rose from her, not perfume, not soap, something alive that made her own breath hitch. Across the room, two alphas snapped their heads up in perfect unison. Their pupils widened. The air changed, thickened. The lecturer froze, eyes going sharp. "Windows," he barked and yanked them open with a force that made glass rattle. Everyone out. Into the hall. Now chairs scraped. Someone laughed nervously, someone else swore. Harper's heartbeat slammed in her ears as if it was trying to escape. In the corridor, she grabbed the wall, vision tunneling. She could feel herself radiating, a beacon she had never asked to become. "Harper," Nathan's voice. She turned and he was there, moving toward her fast, eyes locked on hers like a tether. "Look at me," he said. "Breathe on my count." "I cannot," Harper gasped. "I cannot stop it." "You do not have to stop it alone," Nathan replied. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders, enclosing her in his scent, grounding and dark, like cedar and rain. The contact was intimate in a way that made her knees soften. "Do not touch," Harper whispered, and her voice cracked because her body wanted the touch more than it feared it. "I touch you because otherwise someone else will," Nathan said harshly, and the anger in his tone was not at her. It was at the world. He guided her into an empty classroom and locked the door. The scent swelled, sweet and dangerous, filling the space. Harper's skin felt too tight, her thoughts too bright. Nathan pulled out an injector, the kind Chloe carried but stronger. "Do you consent?" he asked, voice steady, eyes searching her face. Harper's throat burned. "I do not want to be a problem." "You are not a problem," Nathan said. "You are my responsibility." The words landed like a claim. Harper's breath shook. "Since when?" Nathan's hand hovered a hair away from her arm, waiting. And he added, quieter, like it cost him. "Apparently my mate." Harper stared at him, stunned. "You say that because it is convenient." "Because you break me when you are close," Nathan said, and his control sounded like a thread stretched too thin. "That is not convenience." Harper nodded once, and it felt like signing something with her pulse. "Do it," she whispered. He pressed the injector to her skin and depressed it slowly, carefully, like she was something fragile and explosive at the same time. Relief spread through her veins, cooling the panic. Her scent dimmed to a manageable hum, her eyes burned. "Why are you like this?" she asked. Nathan's gaze flickered, pain crossing his features. "Because I was too late once," he said. "I will not be late again." She woke on his couch under a blanket that smelled like him. The room was dim, tasteful, expensive without shouting about it. Nathan sat in a chair nearby, close enough to reach her and far enough to respect her. He was not touching her. His hands were clasped together like he had made a decision and was holding himself to it. "If I am your mate," Harper murmured, still foggy, "why are you alone?" Nathan's eyes sharpened. "Do not ask a question you are not ready for the answer to." A knock. The door opened without waiting. A young woman stepped in, bold posture, bright eyes, hair pinned like she had places to be. She looked at Harper and grinned. "Wow," she said. "So this is her." "I am not her," Harper blurted, cheeks heating. "Sage," Nathan said, and his tone carried a warning. Sage ignored it with the ease of family. "Dad will be thrilled," she said, then tilted her head. "Or furious, or both." Harper sat up too quickly and swayed. "Dad." Sage's grin softened, more human. "Do not worry," she said. "I bite, but I do not break." Then to Nathan, quietly, "Make sure she eats. She looks like she could vanish." When Sage left, the silence filled with unspoken things. Nathan stood, moved toward the couch, and stopped a step away, as if the last distance mattered. "If you say no," he said, voice low, "I will leave." Harper's heart kicked. She had never been asked like that. She had spent her whole life being told what she was not, what she could not become. Consent sounded like a miracle. "Do not go," she whispered. Nathan leaned in and kissed her slowly, careful, as if he was proving he could. The kiss was not a demand. It was a question pressed against her mouth. Heat curled through Harper, sweet and dizzying. Her hands gripped the blanket, then reached for his shirt, needing an anchor. He pulled back first, forehead resting near hers without touching. "Enough for now," he said, voice rough. "You are not stable yet." Harper nodded, breath unsteady, and hated how much she wanted more and loved him for stopping. Morning crashed in with reality. Harper checked her phone. No messages from Chloe. She texted. Nothing. Called, straight to silence. Chloe did not come back to the door. Jess stormed into Harper's room like a weather front. "I told her not to trust that modeling job trash," Jess snapped. "I told her." "It was not modeling," Harper said, voice tight. "It was a trap." Rumors flooded the campus by lunchtime like something with teeth. Chloe left. Chloe lost it. Chloe sold out. Harper overheard laughter near the cafeteria and felt her vision narrow. "Shut up," she said, and it came out sharper than she intended. Raynor appeared by the stairs as if summoned by anger. He leaned on the railing, too relaxed. "If you want to find her," he said, "stop running around alone." "Since when do you care?" Harper asked, eyes hard. Raynor's mouth tilted. "Since it got personal." Harper's stomach sank. "What does that mean?" "Someone is playing omegas like chips," Raynor said, and the casual cruelty in his words made Harper shiver. "And you are next." Nathan picked Harper up after class. She slid into the car and froze. A scratch marked his neck, thin lines like a woman's nails. It was fresh enough to still be angry against his skin. Jealousy hit Harper like a slap. It made no sense, not logically, but her body did not care about logic. Her chest tightened. Her voice went cold. "You are busy," she said. Nathan glanced at her, then followed her gaze in the mirror. His jaw clenched. "It is not what you think." "Of course," Harper said, staring out the window as rain streaked the glass. Nathan's hands tightened on the wheel. He raised his voice for the first time since she had met him. "I am working, Harper. I pull people out of the muck. And you need someone else's nails for that," Harper shot back. The car jerked to the curb. Nathan parked, breathing hard, then looked at her like he was deciding whether to cut her with truth. "You want the truth," he said. "It hurts." "I always want the truth," Harper said, even as fear and longing braided tight inside her. "Then stop running when you are scared," Nathan said, and his eyes looked too old for his face. "Stop making me chase you into places that want to eat you." Harper's throat tightened. She opened the door and stepped into rain like punishment. The cold hit her skin, cleansing and cruel. She slammed the door and walked because anger was easier than admitting she was terrified. Halfway back to campus, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You have the camera, right? Come, I will tell you about Chloe." Harper stopped under a street lamp, rain dripping off her hair. Her heart hammered with hope so sharp it felt like pain. Nathan had said, "Do not go alone." Rainer had said, "You are next," but Chloe was missing. Harper typed, "Where?" The reply came instantly, like it had been waiting. "Old photo studio outskirts, you owe her." The studio was in a dead stretch of warehouses and shuttered businesses. The windows were dark. The door opened when Harper pulled too easily, and that should have been enough to send her running. Instead, she stepped inside, pepper spray in hand, camera bag on her shoulder, every nerve screaming. It was too clean, too quiet. Backdrops stood like frozen scenes. Light stands waited like skeletal arms. On a table, tea sat already poured, steam curling up like a lure. "Chloe," Harper called, voice echoing thin. From the shadows stepped Veronica, a senior Harper recognized from campus events, always perfect hair, perfect smile, eyes that never warmed. "You really thought the Blackwoods would choose you," Veronica said, and the sweetness in her tone made Harper's skin crawl. "Where is Chloe?" Harper demanded. Veronica's smile widened. "Chloe, she was inconvenient." Harper's vision tunneled. "You did something to her." Veronica took a slow step closer. "We all do things," she murmured, "when we want to be seen." Harper lunged, but pain punched into her shoulder, sharp and hot. "A needle." She gasped, stumbling back, the pepper spray dropping from fingers that suddenly felt too slow. "What?" Harper tried to say, but her tongue thickened. Veronica's voice blurred like music underwater. "Get her in the car." "Careful, do not damage the product." Product. The word was a hook in Harper's ribs. She fought the darkness, nails digging into her palm, trying to stay awake long enough to remember something important, a name, a place, a way out. Nathan, she tried to think. Then the floor rose up and swallowed her. When Harper woke, her head throbbed and her mouth tasted like cotton. The room had no windows, no clock, no softness. A bolt sat on the outside of the door. The light was a sickly yellow. Two other girls sat on a thin mattress, both adults, both with eyes too old with fear. One cried silently, shoulders shaking. The other stared at the wall like she was trying to leave her body behind. "They are taking us to Byers," the crying girl whispered when Harper moved. Harper pushed herself up, fighting nausea. She touched her neck. The air felt wrong. Her scent, that new signal her body had just learned, was muted, as if someone had switched her off like a lamp. Panic rose, then flattened into something colder. "They drugged me," Harper said, mostly to herself. Footsteps outside. Voices. "She will go for more," a man said. "Authenticity is rare." Another voice chuckled, especially with that Blackwood connection. Imagine the bidding. Harper's blood turned to ice. They knew about Nathan. They were not afraid of him. That meant they believed they were protected by someone bigger. Harper forced her breath to slow. "They will look for me," she said, not because she was sure, but because she had to be. A voice outside laughed. "Let them, we are protected." Hours blurred, a door opened. Hands grabbed arms, zip ties bit into wrists, black bags swallowed their belongings. Harper did not fight yet. She watched, listened, stored details like ammunition. The van smelled of rubber and old sweat. The engine vibrated through the floor. Harper sat between the two other girls, wrists bound, shoulders pressed together in forced intimacy. "If we get a chance," Harper whispered, voice barely audible over the road. "Run toward water. It will wash away scent. Confuse them." The girl nearest her trembled. "You think like a predator." Harper swallowed. "I am learning," she whispered, and hated that it was true. The driver spoke into a radio. Destination, tunnel under the old chemical plant. Harper's stomach dropped. A place like that was built to swallow people. Acid in the ground. Forgotten corridors. No cameras, no witnesses. She flexed her hands against the zip ties, feeling for weakness. Her shoulder ached where the needle had gone in. Her mind stayed painfully clear. Fear was a knife, and she had to hold it by the handle. Then, without warning, the van's lights flickered. The hum of the radio died. The engine coughed. Power outage, the driver swore. The van slowed, tires crunching gravel. Outside, darkness pressed close. Then screams, distant and sudden, like a switch flipped in the world. A gunshot cracked, sharp enough to make Harper flinch. Another shot. Shouts, running feet. The van lurched to a stop. Harper's heart hammered. She twisted, scraping the zip ties against a jagged edge of metal near the seat frame. It cut her skin. She bit her lip to keep from making noise. The pain was clean, useful. The zip tie gave. Her hands came free, wrists burning. The side door slammed open. A figure filled the frame, backlit by headlights and chaos. Nathan, his face was not calm now. It was feral, eyes bright with something ancient and furious. To me, he ordered. Now, relief hit Harper so hard she almost sobbed. She scrambled forward, hands reaching. Behind Nathan, Veronica stepped into view, hair loose, mascara smeared like she had been crying and laughing at once. She held a gun, her hand steady. "If she leaves, you leave too," Veronica said, voice shaking with delight. The Blackwood heir. "The prize? I can sell a tragedy, Nathan. It will be beautiful." Nathan moved, but Veronica fired. The sound punched the air. Nathan jerked, a wet impact on his side. His breath tore out. He staggered, catching himself on the door frame like the world had suddenly become heavier. "No," Harper screamed, and the sound ripped her throat. Something inside her broke open. Her scent surged, wild, uncontrollable, flooding the air like a siren. The guards outside, the ones rushing toward the van, faltered. Their bodies reacted before their minds. One grabbed another. A snarl, a shove. Instinct turned them into animals with no leash. Chaos erupted. Men fought each other, blinded by the sudden spike of pheromones and panic, their discipline collapsing into teeth and fists. Nathan's eyes snapped to Harper. His voice came out strained. "Do not let her out. Not now." Not now meant never, Harper realized in a flash, because she could feel how dangerous she was, how her body was announcing itself to every predator in range. It would never be safe. There would always be someone stronger, someone crueler, someone with money and guns and permission. Harper looked at Nathan bleeding and understood something brutal. If she stayed small, she would always be taken. She made a choice. She stopped trying to shut the beast out and let it in. Heat tore through her bones. Skin itched like it wanted to split. Her vision sharpened and fractured at once, the world suddenly too loud, too full of scent and sound. She dropped to her knees, hands clawing at the gravel, breath turning into a growl she did not recognize. Pain, white and holy, ripped through her spine. Then the wolf was there. Harper surged forward on 4 limbs, muscle and fury and instinct, not to kill, not to become the monster everyone feared, but to stop, to protect, to end the chase. Headlights blinded her for a second. She lowered her shoulders and charged the light, slamming into the line of men, scattering them like broken pieces of a bad plan. A body flew. A weapon clattered. She saw Veronica, saw the gun in her hand, saw the way her smile wobbled when the wolf's shadow fell over her. Harper lunged and knocked her down, jaws snapping inches from Veronica's face. Not killing, holding the line. The wolf's restraint was a choice, too, and it felt like power. Veronica screamed, her scent souring with terror. Sirens wailed in the distance, closer, closer. Over the roar in her ears, Harper heard Raynor's voice somewhere in the dark, yelling like he was directing a war. Alive, we need witnesses. The wolf turned, drawn by something deeper than sound. Nathan lay against the van, blood dark on his shirt, eyes open, fixed on her like he was seeing a prophecy. Harper padded to him, nudged his hand with her nose. His fingers trembled, then curled into her fur. "So this is you," Nathan whispered, and the awe in his voice cut through her rage like a blade through smoke. Harper forced herself back, pulled the shift inward with trembling control. The world shattered into pain again. Human skin returned too tight, too exposed. She collapsed to her knees beside him, naked in the cold air, shivering, hands pressing to his wound without knowing how to stop the blood. Nathan's face was pale. His hand lifted, hovering near her cheek, not sure if he was allowed. Harper's voice came out raw. "Stay with me." Nathan's breath hitched. "Always," he whispered, and behind them the tunnel howled with sirens and fighting and the sound of a network realizing its prey had teeth. Harper woke to white light and the steady, indifferent beep of a monitor, as if a machine had taken over the job of believing she would live. Her throat hurt when she swallowed. Her wrists stung where the ties had been. Her skin still carried the phantom itch of fur and heat, the memory of power that had arrived like a storm and left her shaking in its wake. Nathan sat beside the bed, not in it, not leaning on her, not taking what his eyes clearly wanted. He was folded into a chair like a man who had not moved for hours, one hand gripping the armrest so hard his knuckles had gone pale. His shirt had been changed, but the bandage at his side was new, thick, and angry. There was dried blood under his fingernails, like he had been trying to claw the world back into a shape he could live with. Harper blinked once, then again, to make sure he was real. "You alive?" she rasped. His head lifted so fast it looked like it hurt. For a moment, his face did something terrifying, a crack in the control, raw relief so sharp it bordered on rage. Then he forced it down like he did with everything. "Yeah," he said. His voice was hoarse. "And you are back." Harper tried to sit up. Pain dragged through her ribs and shoulder. Nathan was on his feet instantly, then stopped himself, hands hovering a careful distance away, as if he had promised he would not touch without permission even in a hospital room. "Slow," he said. Harper nodded, breathing through the ache. Her eyes flicked to his neck before she could stop herself. The scratch was still there, faint now but visible, a thin crescent like a confession. Her chest went cold all over again. "Tell me the truth," she said. "Who was she?" Nathan's jaw tightened. He did not look away, which somehow made it worse. "A decoy," he said. "A plant, someone I let close enough to mark me because I knew you would see it." Harper stared at him as if language had turned into a weapon and he had just pressed it into her hands. "You used jealousy," she whispered. I used your attention, he corrected, and there was no pride in it. They wanted you isolated, emotional, reckless. They sent the message because they knew you would go if they dangled Chloe. I needed you to hesitate next time. And you decided for me, Harper said, voice steady in the way people are steady right before they break. Nathan exhaled, and in that breath was the sound of a man who hated himself for being right. Yes, he said, and I hate that in myself. Harper turned her face toward the windowless wall. The beep of the monitor filled the silence. She could feel him watching her like a prayer he did not know how to say. How bad was it, she asked finally, what they did to me? A doctor entered before Nathan could answer, a woman with calm eyes and a clipped, efficient walk. Dr. Stevenson, her badge read. She checked the IV, glanced at the chart, then at Harper. You were given a compound designed to suppress scent expression and slow regenerative response, she said, voice gentle but direct. It is used to break will. It also delays or destabilizes awakening. The hospital ran a tox screen the moment you came in. We are treating the effects. Harper's fingers curled into the sheet, so I was not imagining it. I felt switched off. No, Dr. Stevenson said, you were chemically muzzled. Harper's stomach tightened. And the shift. Dr. Stevenson's gaze sharpened with clinical focus. Delayed awakening is not unheard of. But the intensity suggests your system was holding back for years, then released under extreme stress. That kind of abrupt onset can trigger a strong heat cycle, possibly soon. Heat. The word made Harper's skin flush with shame and fear. She was not naive, but she had always lived at a safe distance from that reality, like it belonged to other people with normal instincts and normal rules. Pregnancy risk, she forced herself to ask, hating how small her voice sounded. Dr. Stevenson did not flinch. If you have unprotected intercourse during heat, yes. Your job is safety and consent. The rest is physiology. We will help you plan. Nathan's hand tightened on the chair arm. He did not interrupt, but the air around him went taut, protective instinct straining at its leash. Dr. Stevenson scribbled a note, then added, "You were lucky. Someone cut the transport quickly. If you had reached that tunnel fully sedated, you might not have been found." Harper's throat closed, lucky, as if luck had been in the van with her, as if it had opened the door and bled on the gravel. After the doctor left, the room felt too quiet. Harper turned her head back toward Nathan. "Did you bleed for me on purpose?" she asked. Nathan's eyes flickered. "They needed a spectacle," he said. "They wanted you to break publicly. They wanted the Blackwood heir to react. They wanted proof that you would shift for me. They wanted to sell certainty." "Sell?" Harper echoed, nauseated. "Like a product." Nathan's mouth pulled tight. "Authenticity is currency in this city," he said. "People pay for it, and people die for it." The door opened again, and this time it was Jess, carrying a paper cup of coffee and a look that could cut steel. She took one look at Harper's face and softened by half a degree, which in Jess terms was an embrace. "You look like you got dragged through hell," Jess said. Harper's laugh came out broken. "I did." Jess's eyes cut to Nathan, then back. "Raynor is outside," she said. "He says he will behave. That means he is in a mood." Nathan's posture changed instantly, a cold readiness settling over him. "Let him in," Harper said before she could overthink it. Raynor walked in like he owned the air, hands in pockets, expression unreadable. He looked at Harper, then at Nathan's bandage, and for a moment something human flashed across his face and vanished. "You are stubborn," he said to Harper. "You are charming," Harper replied. Raynor's mouth twitched. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Your photos and whatever was left on that camera will matter," he said. "But more than that, your testimony will matter. The network is already scrubbing. They will call you unstable. They will call you hysterical. They will call you a liar who had a breakdown and attacked people." Harper's stomach sank. "Because I shifted." "Because they need a story that makes you the problem," Rayner said. "The public loves a monster. It makes them feel safe." Harper's gaze dropped to her hands. She could still feel fur that was not there. She could still feel the rush of power that had made men stumble back. She had never wanted to be feared. But fear had kept her alive. "I am scared," she admitted. Rayner's eyes held hers unblinking. "Being scared is normal," he said. "Silence is deadly." Jess set the coffee down with a thud. "Also," she said, "Rayner did not do this out of nobility. He has a score to settle." Rayner did not deny it. He looked at Nathan like two predators recognizing each other. "You have clean power," Rayner said to Nathan. "Names, doors, influence. I have the dirty side of the city. The place's money hides its teeth. We helped you because it is efficient." Nathan's gaze stayed cold. "And because it is personal," he said. Rayner's smile was thin. "Yeah," he admitted. "Because it got personal." Harper swallowed. "Who is protecting them?" she asked. "Who made them so confident they could laugh about being protected?" Rayner's eyes sharpened. "Counselor Grey Priest," he said. The name hit Harper like a punch. She had heard it in passing, on screens, in polite conversations about charity and reform. A public figure with practiced empathy, always photographed shaking hands, always talking about safeguarding vulnerable students and community programs. "A counselor," Harper whispered. "Official." Nathan's jaw clenched so hard she saw the muscle move. "He is the kind of man who can make a warrant disappear," Nathan said. "And make a victim disappear with it." Rayner nodded once. "He is tied to Veronica," he said. "Family, patron, whatever label makes it sound less ugly. She should have been in custody after the tunnel. She was at the station for an hour, then she walked." Harper's blood went cold. "So the law is not a wall," she said. "No," Jess replied. "It is a curtain. People like Priest stand behind it and decide what the audience sees." Harper pressed her palm to her sternum, trying to steady her breathing. "Chloe," she said, voice cracking. "Where is Chloe?" Jess's expression tightened. Rayner's gaze dropped for the first time. "Not here," he said, "not alive." Harper stared at him, waiting for the punchline that would not come. Her body went strangely still, as if shock had poured ice through her veins. "No," she said. "No, you do not just say that like it is a weather report." Jess's eyes shone with anger. "They found her," Jess said, "and they are calling it an overdose." Harper's vision blurred. She gripped the sheet like it could hold her to the world. "It is a lie," Harper whispered. Nathan's voice was low and steady, the voice of a man who had already turned grief into a plan. "Yeah," he said, "and now we have less time." Harper covered her mouth with her hand, but the sob still escaped, small and animal, the sound of a person whose heart had just been rewritten. She had promised Chloe she would cover for her. She had told her not to do anything stupid. She had believed she could keep her safe with love and good intentions and pepper spray. Now Chloe was a statistic in a press release. Nathan moved then, finally, careful and slow, as if approaching a wild thing that might bolt. His hand hovered near Harper's, not touching. "May I?" he asked softly, the question trembling with restraint. Harper nodded, and the moment his fingers wrapped around hers, warmth flooded her so fast she shook. It was not the touch of a man claiming. It was the touch of a man anchoring. I am sorry, he said, voice breaking on the edge of the words. Harper squeezed his hand and felt something ugly rise inside her, something that was not grief but hunger for justice, sharp as teeth. I will testify, she said, and the steadiness of her voice surprised her. If I stay silent, Chloe stays a lie. Rayner's eyes narrowed with approval. Good, he said, because they are already sending messages to witnesses. They will offer money first, then they will offer fear. As if summoned by his words, Harper's phone buzzed on the bedside table. The nurses had returned it after processing her belongings. An unknown number flashed. Take back your statement and you will live. Harper stared at the screen until the letters seemed to crawl. Nathan leaned in, read it, and something in his eyes went dark. They are quick, Jess muttered. Rayner's voice stayed flat. They are used to winning, he said, but now there is blood in public. Now there are hundreds of people who saw doors lock at a charity event, people who felt something in the air, people who panicked. Priest cannot scrub a room full of donors. Charity event, Harper echoed, confused, still in the hospital bed. Rayner's gaze flickered. He is planning one, he said. He has been planning one, a ball, a show, a perfect place to create chaos and call it tragedy. Nathan's hand tightened around Harper's. You are not going, he said. Harper's head snapped up, anger flashing through grief like lightning. Forbidding is not loving, she said, voice low and fierce. The words hung between them. Nathan's eyes widened slightly, then he looked away, swallowing something bitter. You are right, he said finally, but my instincts do not care about being right. Harper's breath shook. Your instincts are not my cage, she whispered. If we are mates, we do not do cages. Nathan closed his eyes for a beat, then opened them with a kind of exhausted honesty. No more secrets, he said. No more decisions made over your head. I will ask, even when it hurts. Harper nodded. Then listen, she said. I am not a thing on your territory. I will not hide while other girls get taken. Nathan's throat worked. He looked like a man losing an argument he desperately wanted to win. All right, he said. Then we plan together. The hospital days blurred into a rhythm of painkillers, police interviews, and the strange intimacy of being cared for when you feel least deserving. Nathan stayed close but careful, always asking before touching, always watching her face for the slightest flinch. Sometimes Harper caught him staring at her neck like he was listening to a pulse only he could hear. Sometimes she caught herself staring back, craving his attention in a way that embarrassed her. One afternoon, Sage appeared with a paper bag of pastries and a look too bright to be casual. You look less dead, Sage announced, dropping into the visitor chair like she lived there. Harper managed a weak smile. Thank you. Sage leaned forward, voice lowering. My father wants to meet you, she said. He will pretend it is about family duty. It is about control. Be prepared. Nathan's gaze cut to Sage like a warning. Sage shrugged. I am not scared of him, she said. Then she looked at Harper, and for a moment the bravado softened into something more sincere. I am glad you are alive, she added quietly. Nathan does not handle loss well. Nathan's jaw tightened, and Harper saw a flicker of old grief in his eyes, the one he had hinted at when he said he had been too late once. Sage stood, tugging her coat on. Also, she said, smirking, if you break his heart, I will haunt you, not metaphorically. Literally, we are dramatic people. Harper snorted despite herself. Noted. After Sage left, Nathan looked at Harper with a tired, almost helpless expression. She thinks humor is armor, he said. Maybe she learned it from you, Harper replied. Nathan's mouth softened. Maybe, he admitted. When Harper was discharged, she refused Nathan's penthouse on principle. It was too clean, too high, too much like a fortress that could become a prison if fear took over. They compromised on a smaller place Nathan owned but barely used, close to campus, with windows that opened and locks that were hers as much as his. The first night, Harper stood in the doorway of the bedroom, pulse skittering. Nathan waited in the hall, giving her space like it was sacred. "Do you want me in here?" he asked. Harper's cheeks heated. She could still feel the doctor's words about heat looming ahead like a season she could not skip. "I want you close," she said honestly. "But I need to know you will stop when I say stop." Nathan's gaze held hers unblinking. "Always," he said. "Say it once and I stop." Harper nodded. "Then come here," she whispered. He moved slowly, as if approaching something that might shatter, and when he kissed her, it was not like the first time on the couch, careful and brief. This time it was deeper, lingering, the kind of kiss that made Harper forget her own fear for a moment and remember that she was allowed to want. His hand slid to her waist, warm through the fabric of her shirt, fingers spreading like a promise. Harper's breath caught and her body leaned into him before her mind could argue. Nathan felt it, the shift in her, and he paused, forehead resting lightly against hers. "Still yes," he murmured. "Yes," Harper breathed. They moved to the bed like gravity was a spell. Nathan stayed clothed. Harper stayed clothed. The eroticism was in the closeness, in the way his mouth traced the line of her jaw without crossing into anything she was not ready for, in the way his voice turned rough when he whispered her name, in the way Harper's fingers gripped his shirt like she could anchor herself to him and not drown. When Harper's pulse sped too fast, Nathan slowed. When her scent rose, he pressed his palm against her side and breathed with her, counting softly until her body believed him. "I am scared," she admitted against his mouth. "I know," he said, kissing her again, slower. "I am scared too." Harper pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "Of me?" she asked. "Of losing you," Nathan answered, immediate and raw. Something loosened inside her chest. She kissed him again, not as a question now, but as a decision. They stayed like that a long time, wrapped in heat and restraint, learning each other's edges. When Harper finally said, "Stop," not because she did not want him, but because she wanted to prove the word mattered, Nathan froze instantly, then shifted away without complaint, breathing hard like it cost him. He looked at her as if waiting for punishment. Harper's throat tightened. "Thank you," she whispered. Nathan's expression broke into something almost tender. "Any time," he said, "every time." The next weeks became a war fought in small rooms. Police asked for timelines. Lawyers asked for precision. Reporters asked for emotion. Anonymous texts asked for obedience. Harper learned the strange exhaustion of being both victim and witness, of having to repeat pain until it felt like a script. Then the flash drive arrived. It came in a plain envelope with no return address, dropped through the mail slot like a quiet threat. Harper stared at it for a full minute before touching it, as if it might bite. Nathan's voice was tight. "Do not plug it in on your laptop," he said. "We do it on an isolated machine." Rayner met them that night, bringing a battered old computer like he had stolen it from a landfill on purpose. Jess came too, arms crossed, eyes hard, as if daring the universe to try her. They watched the video in silence. The footage was from the photo studio. Harper saw herself, tense, scanning shadows, calling Chloe's name. She saw Veronica step out, smiling. She saw the needle, the moment her body betrayed her, the stagger, the fall. Then text appeared on the screen, added later in crude, deliberate letters. Break her. Harper's stomach turned. She felt the room tilt, the memory of darkness rushing back like it was happening again. Jess swore softly. Raynor's face stayed blank, but his eyes went colder. Nathan's hand hovered near Harper's shoulder. "May I?" he asked. Harper nodded, and his palm settled lightly on her, grounding her with warmth. "Who sent it?" Harper whispered. Raynor's gaze stayed on the frozen frame of Veronica's smile. "Someone on the inside," he said. "Or someone trying to be?" Nathan frowned. "Why help us?" he asked. Raynor's mouth twisted. "Sometimes rats jump ship when they smell smoke," he said. "Sometimes they want a reward. Sometimes they want revenge. Either way, evidence is evidence." Harper swallowed. "Does it matter?" she asked, voice steadying, "if it puts Priest on the record?" "It will," Jess said. "Unless he buries it," Nathan replied. Raynor leaned back in his chair. "That is why he is doing the ball," he said. "He wants a new narrative, a public gesture, Omega safety, charity, cameras, smiles. Then he will stage an incident and emerge as the hero, the protector, the man who warned everyone about dangerous awakenings." Harper's pulse skittered. "Me," she said. Raynor pointed at her like she had answered correctly. "You," he confirmed. Nathan's voice went low. "You are not going," he said again, but this time it was not a command. It was a plea. Harper met his eyes. "If I do not go," she said softly, "he will choose another target, another Chloe." Nathan's nostrils flared. He looked like a man trying to argue with fate. Jess broke the tension with brutal practicality. "If she goes, we do it with a plan," she said. "Security, exits mapped, ventilation monitored, medical staff vetted." Raynor's gaze slid to Jess, impressed. "You should be in my line of work," he said. Jess snorted. "I like sleeping," she replied. Harper pressed her hand over Nathan's on her shoulder. "I do not want to be bait," she said, "but I will be if it ends this." Nathan's eyes searched her face, and something in him softened into surrender. "Together," he said. "Not alone." Harper nodded. "Together." The day Harper's heat truly arrived, it did not announce itself with romance. It came like weather turning violent. She woke drenched in warmth that did not belong to the room, breath short, skin too sensitive to her own sheets. Her scent rose in soft waves, sweet and dangerous, calling out into a world that had already proven it would answer. Nathan was up instantly, face tight with concern. He kept his distance, voice steady. "Tell me what you need," he said. Harper gripped the edge of the blanket, trembling. "I need you to stay," she whispered. "But I need you to stay like you are now, not taking, not claiming." Nathan nodded once as if sealing a vow. "We do it your way," he said. "Every step." They followed the plan Dr. Stevenson had helped them build. Water, food, suppressants ready if Harper wanted them. Locks checked, phones charged, Jess on standby, furious at the world for existing. Harper's body begged for closeness. It was humiliating, the way instinct tried to steer her like she was not a person, like she was just biology wrapped in skin. But when Nathan came to her, kneeling by the bed, and took her hands only after asking, the heat shifted. It became something she could live inside without losing herself. His voice was low, intimate, a thread she could hold. "Look at me," he murmured. "You are Harper, not a cycle, not a scent, not a commodity." Harper's eyes burned. "Kiss me," she whispered, and the words felt like reclaiming her own mouth. Nathan kissed her slowly, deeply, enough to make her gasp, enough to make her toes curl under the blanket. His hands stayed on her waist, firm and steady, not roaming, not demanding. Every time Harper's breath hitched into panic, he slowed, counted with her, soothed her with touch that said, "I am here, I am not taking, I am holding." At one point, Harper clutched his shirt and broke, tears spilling hot and sudden. "I was afraid of myself," she choked. Nathan's forehead rested against hers. "I know," he whispered. "I was afraid too, but not of you, of what they did to you." Harper's breath shuddered. "And you held me," she said, a small laugh tangled with sobs. "I will always hold you," Nathan replied. In the morning, after the worst of it eased, Harper lay in Nathan's arms fully clothed, head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat like proof. For a fragile moment, it felt like the world had narrowed to something survivable. Then, faint and strange, she felt the wolf stir inside her mind, not as hunger but as warning, a whisper of instinct that did not speak in words but in certainty. Danger is near. Harper sat up, heart racing. Nathan's eyes opened immediately. "What?" he asked. Harper swallowed. "I do not know," she said, "but I feel it." Nathan's face went hard. "Then we trust it," he said. 2 days before the ball, Raynor called with a voice like steel wrapped in calm. "Priest is cleaning up loose ends," he said. A witness from the tunnel recanted. Another is in the hospital after a so-called accident. Harper's stomach sank. "And Veronica?" she asked. Raynor's laugh held no humor. "Still walking," he said. "Still smiling." Priest is staging her as a repentant youth led astray, tragic, misguided. He wants her visible so people stop asking how she vanished from custody. Nathan swore under his breath. "We go anyway," he said, and this time Harper heard the shift in him, not protectiveness, but strategy. "We go and we end it." The night of the ball arrived dressed in gold light and expensive lies. The venue was a historic hall that smelled of polished wood and perfume, chandeliers scattering brightness across gowns and suits like everyone was playing at being innocent. Harper wore a dress Jess had helped her choose, elegant but not fragile, fabric that moved with her instead of against her. Her hair was pinned back to expose her neck, and she hated how vulnerable it made her feel, and loved how Nathan's gaze lingered there like he was trying to memorize the place he wanted to keep safe. Nathan wore black, of course. He looked like control given human form, but Harper could feel the tension in him through their joined hands, the barely restrained violence of a man walking into a trap with his eyes open. "Still yes," Nathan murmured as they approached the entrance. Harper lifted her chin. "Yes," she said, "and if I say no inside, we leave." Nathan nodded. "Immediately." They entered together. Harper's senses stretched, the wolf alert beneath her skin. She smelled too much. Alcohol. Sweat hidden under cologne. Nervousness disguised as laughter. Predatory interest disguised as charm. Then she saw Veronica across the room, near a cluster of donors and cameras, hair perfect, smile brighter than the chandeliers. Her eyes found Harper instantly. Veronica raised her glass in a toast that felt like a slap. Her mouth formed 2 silent words. Too late. Harper's stomach dropped. A faint change in the air followed, subtle enough that most people would miss it. A low hum, a shift in the ventilation. Harper felt it like a hand sliding down her spine. Then she smelled it. A foreign scent, sticky and invasive, blooming through the hall like a fog. It was not one person. It was chemical and biological at once, engineered to ignite instincts, to loosen control, to make bodies betray minds. Around them, the room changed. An alpha near the bar stiffened, pupils widening. Another bared his teeth in a grin that was not human. An omega laughed too loudly, then flinched, eyes glassy with fear. A couple began to argue, voices rising fast, too fast, like the air itself had lit their tempers. Nathan's hand tightened around Harper's, his voice cut through the growing noise. "Everyone to the exits," he shouted. "Now!" People turned, confused, then panicked as the scent thickened. Someone screamed, a glass shattered. The crowd surged toward the doors in a sudden, desperate wave, and the doors did not open. A lock clicked somewhere. Metal refused. Panic became a living thing. Bodies pressed together. Someone fell. Someone stepped on a hand. A sob turned into a scream. Harper's heart hammered, but the wolf inside her rose, not with hunger, but with command. She felt something strange and terrible, an instinctual authority that pulled at the room like gravity. Veronica slipped through the chaos with unnatural ease, weaving toward Harper as if the scent did not affect her, or as if she enjoyed it. She leaned close enough that Harper felt her breath. "If you love him," Veronica whispered, voice sweet as poison, "watch him fall." Harper's gaze snapped up. On the balcony above, partially hidden behind decorative railings and banners, a figure raised a weapon, aiming not at the crowd, not at random, but with careful precision. At Nathan. Time narrowed into a thin, brutal line. Harper did not think. She moved. She shoved Nathan sideways toward a stone column, using her whole body like a shield, and in that instant a shot cracked through the air, loud enough to split the hall. Pain slammed into Harper from the side, sharp and hot, her knees buckled. She heard her own gasp, distant, like it belonged to someone else. Nathan caught her, arms around her, but she pushed him away with desperate strength. "Move," she choked out. Nathan's face was white with shock. "Harper!" The room tilted. The chemical scent pressed harder, trying to hijack her. The crowd roared, a storm of instincts breaking loose. And then inside Harper's mind, she heard something she had never heard before, clear as a voice, intimate as breath. "Do not you dare die." Nathan's mental voice, not imagined, not metaphorical. A bond snapped taut between them like a wire. Harper's vision sharpened with a terrifying clarity. If she stayed human, she would bleed out on polished wood while predators trampled each other. If she shifted, she would become a headline, a nightmare, a proof they could use against her. If she did nothing, Nathan would be shot next. The wolf surged up like a wave, answering not fear but purpose. Harper's bones ignited. Heat ripped through her spine. Her skin burned and itched, and the world fractured into scent and sound and instinct. She felt fabric tear somewhere, heard someone gasp, heard the crowd's panic falter as a new kind of terror entered the room. She shifted in the ballroom in front of hundreds. The hall fell into a stunned, disbelieving silence, as if the pack itself had been forced to kneel by the sheer weight of her presence. Even the chemically triggered frenzy hiccuped, instincts caught and held by a dominance that was not cruelty but command. Harper's wolf landed on the floor with a heavy thud, claws scraping polished wood. She lifted her head and looked up at the balcony. The shooter froze. The wolf launched. The leap was pure power. She hit the balcony in a blur of muscle and intent, slamming into the shooter and knocking him hard against the railing. The weapon clattered away. She snapped at his belt, yanking it free, disarming him completely, and pinned him with her weight, jaws close enough to his throat to promise death without giving it. Not killing, not becoming their story. Holding the line. Below, Rayner seized the moment like a man who had been waiting for chaos his entire life. He shoved through staff doors, barking orders, and within seconds the ventilation cut out with a groan. Emergency exits clicked as manual overrides were forced. Fresh air poured in like salvation. Police sirens rose outside, multiplying fast. Officers surged in through side entrances that had been kept clear, and the room erupted again, this time in the sound of authority and relief. Harper shifted back behind a decorative screen as quickly as she could, trembling, blood running warm down her side. Someone threw a coat around her shoulders. She did not look up until she smelled him. Nathan. He dropped to his knees in front of her, hands hovering, eyes wild. "May I?" he asked, voice breaking. Harper's lips trembled. "Yes," she whispered. His hands found her carefully, one supporting her back, the other pressing gently near the wound without hurting her, as if he could hold the blood inside by sheer will. His breath shook against her hair. "You," he whispered, awe and fear tangled together, "stopped the pack." Harper's vision blurred. "I did not stop the pack," she said, voice thin. "I stopped your death." Nathan closed his eyes, and for a second she thought he might fall apart right there on the ballroom floor. When he opened them again, they were wet. "I love you," he said, simple and raw, like he had run out of places to hide it. Harper swallowed, pain and warmth mixing in her chest. "Then live," she whispered, "and help me end this." Across the room, Veronica was being handcuffed. She did not fight. She laughed, head tipped back, mascara streaking down her cheeks like she had been crying for herself. "Priest will still walk free," she called out, voice bright with certainty. "He always does." Raynor stepped close enough that only she would hear. His voice was calm, almost conversational. "Maybe," he said, "but tonight you made yourself too visible." Veronica's smile faltered for the first time, and Harper felt a cold satisfaction that surprised her. Paramedics pushed through the crowd, medical bags swinging. One knelt beside Harper, gloved hands already reaching. Harper's wolf stirred inside her, uneasy. As the medic adjusted a bandage, Harper caught a scent through the blood and antiseptic, a familiar undertone that did not belong in an emergency kit. It was the same expensive cologne she remembered from the club, the man in the suit who had looked at the dance floor like a display case. Not on his body, but embedded in the latex glove, as if the medic had shaken his hand, stood close to him, belonged to his orbit. Harper's breath hitched. The medic glanced at her, eyes too steady. "You are going to be fine," he said softly. Harper forced herself to nod, but inside her something went cold and sharp. Nathan noticed her change instantly. "What?" he asked, voice low. Harper leaned closer, barely moving her lips. "The medical staff," she whispered. "One of them smells like him, like the suit, like Priest's circle." Nathan's eyes darkened. His hand tightened around hers, not hard, just enough to promise he was there. Raynor approached, face grim. "We got Veronica," he said. "We got the shooter. We got donor witnesses, locked doors on record, ventilation tampering on record. Priest will not like the headlines." Harper looked at the crowd, at the frightened faces, at the wealthy ones trying to pretend they had not panicked like everyone else. She looked at the officers photographing vents and door locks. She looked at the paramedics, at the medic with the wrong scent. "It is not over," she said quietly. Raynor's gaze sharpened, like he respected her more for not pretending otherwise. "No," he agreed, "but it is different now." Nathan brushed his thumb over Harper's knuckles, a small, intimate motion that made her breathe a little easier. "We go to the hospital," he said. "We let them patch you up. Then we do this the right way." Harper's eyes stung. "The right way did not save Chloe," she whispered. Nathan's expression tightened with grief. "No," he said, "but it can save the next one." As the stretcher rolled her toward the doors, Harper let herself watch the ballroom one last time. The chandeliers still shone. The music had stopped. The charity banners hung limp, their slogans suddenly obscene in the bright light of police cameras. Outside, cold air hit her face like a wake-up. Nathan walked beside the stretcher the whole way, one hand gripping the rail, the other hovering near her shoulder like he was holding back an instinct to gather her into his arms and run. Harper reached out and caught his fingers. Nathan looked down at her, eyes fierce with devotion and exhaustion. Harper breathed through the pain and let herself say what felt like both a promise and a warning. "Do not decide for me again," she whispered. "Not even to save me." Nathan nodded, swallowing hard. "Never again," he said. "Only together." Harper closed her eyes, listening to the sirens fade behind them and the hospital doors open ahead. The wolf inside her settled, still alert, still wary, but no longer alone. And in the quiet space between danger and dawn, Harper understood the shape of her new life. Not safe, not simple, but real. A life where she would testify, even if her voice shook. A life where love would not be a cage, but a hand offered and accepted. A life where monsters in suits could no longer count on silence. The world had tried to turn her into a product. Instead, it had awakened a protector. What would you do if your instincts woke up in the middle of a kidnapping? Drop a comment and let me know your favorite moment.